I'll tell the short version because it would take me like 6 hours. But basically, I was this was 2010. I was at LSU as a graduate assistant strength and conditioning coach, and I wanted to get into professional baseball. I'll never forget the day that I was looking for jobs online for professional baseball, and there were no women's names like anywhere. I was like Googling all this stuff, and I was just like, man, where are all I was so naive, so naive. And I walked into my boss's office, who happened to be a woman at LSU. She was the co-director of strength and conditioning, and I said, Mel, I said, are there any women working in professional baseball as strength coaches? And she just laughed at me. She was like, there are no women working in any professional sports as a strength coach. Like, what are you saying? I was so naive. So, and again, being naive, I was like, oh, okay. And I just went back to it and I started applying, just like, oh, well, why wouldn't they hire me? Right. I'm at LSU. I'm working with baseball and softball. I'd already done some internships leading up to that point. And I had a little bit of an issue, like not issue, but I had a little trouble. But as a young person, you just think, you have to work to get the job. So I kept applying and applying. And so the Cardinals actually reached out to LSU football strength and conditioning and asked for somebody who would want to be an intern. And they said, well, we've got this great person, catcher in college, like all this, whatever. And it's a she. Like, what do you think? And the Cardinals took a leap of faith and hired me as an intern. So I got to do that. And then I decided to go back to school. It's kind of a long story, but basically I got out of the Cardinals internship, which internships end. So it was over. They were like, yeah, we'll call you in 5 months if we have anything. So you can't rest on your laurels there. So I went and basically decided to go back to school, moved to Phoenix, and I applied for I believe it was 12, something like that, 12 jobs the following spring and got crickets. But again, I was thinking, oh, well, it's hard to get a job in professional baseball. And so then finally, long story short, an organization called me that spring and said, hey, are you still available? Someone quit in spring training. And spring training is crazy. So they were like desperate. They're like, woman, I don't care. Hire me. Get somebody in here. So he wanted to hire me, but basically ended up, long story short, calling me back after several weeks and just saying like, hey, I just want to let you know what you're up against. I really want to hire you, but our administration just said that we're not going to hire a woman. And that was kind of the first time that I was brought away from my naivete. And then he also said, he was like, I've got more bad news. I actually called around to 10 other organizations that I know have positions posted, and they are also not willing to hire a woman. And it was like this moment of truth where I had to go, okay, well, either I'm going to essentially give up and go work for women's sports because that's what the normal is, right? Or I just am going to keep putting my head down. So then at that point, I picked up another internship with Arizona State baseball and softball, working for them for free. And then long story short, again, the Chicago White Sox actually gave me an internship to work with their fall league, which was babysitting for free. And then the Cardinals hired me back full time. But in the midst of that, I was so desperate that I turned my name from Rachel to Ray on my resume just to get a phone call, because I figured people were basically seeing my name and not even calling me. So I changed my name from Rachel to Ray. I changed NCAA Division I softball catcher to just NCAA Division I catcher, and just made everything gender neutral. And I did get a phone call, which turned into a really awkward phone call very quickly once he found out that I was a woman. But then, very shortly after that, I kind of felt bad because I was technically lying on my resume, and I switched it back. But all that to say, wasn't really fruitful, but I was so desperate that I felt like that was the only way to get a look for my resume. And times have changed. Times have really changed since then. So I'm not saying either is good, but I think the original question that led me down this long path of talking about my journey was, are we doing enough? I think MLB is doing a phenomenal job of creating opportunities. I think MLB is doing a phenomenal job of getting women's resumes in front of the right people with teams. I think that we might have gone at this point a little too far. I'm okay saying that publicly, of just saying, I talk to many women and they go, well, how can I possibly get into the game? I'm like, well, did you apply? And they're like, oh, no. I'm like, well, if you don't apply and you're not applying yourself, then I can't help you. But I think the pendulum has swung so far that, we might be inviting people in that maybe aren't ready for the opportunity. However, there's plenty of great candidates that have been accepted into jobs as well. So now I've gone on a long tangent, but I think we've covered quite a bit there.
No, that's great. No, that's the story I wanted to hear because I love that story. Are we able to see you in a big league uniform as a manager in the next 5 years?
Oh, no, straight
10?
up. No, you'll see me hopefully as a general manager in the next 10 years.
Boom. There
But
it is.
no, my goals definitely will probably lead me to the front office sooner rather than later. But the managing role, to be honest with you, is probably because I think um, we're at a turning point, or we're just in the middle of, as you all know, like this big tech explosion, like anywhere from 5 to 7 years ago, I guess. And that's invited different candidates into the game who are from different backgrounds, and managing, where, as you know, as you all know, managing used to be this strategic, I'm writing the lineup and I'm doing the matchups and I'm doing this, and like now there's a lot more based around pitch counts. Like I don't have a lot to do with what pitchers coming in the game because they're all in pitch counts, right? And that's not a secret. um, the role of the manager has changed significantly since, a lot of it's based on playing time or pitch counts or whatever it might be. And so they wanted somebody with more of a coaching background to be in the manager role. And I think that is fine for me, and it's fine for what the Yankees need at this time. I don't know if that will lead me down the path of being a major league manager. And frankly, I think there are just other people who are better suited for that role at this point, although that could change. And I think that also my aspirations are going to lead me into the front office at some point.
So you'd rather be a general manager than a manager? Smart.
Yeah,
That's smart.
exactly.
smart.
I
Because
remember.
they have all the power now. It used to be the other way around. Now the GMs tell the managers what to do, and they're like, "Yeah, you not going to play your guy? Guess what? We'll find someone that will. See you."
You got it,
Smart.
AJ.
Well played.
I mean, the manager,
played.
trust me, I don't want to take it away from anyone. And I know like just how impactful like Boone is, it's just like it's a really impactful, critical role. And also Cash gets the players, or Hal, you could say, like the owner and the GM are, pulling the strings, and giving you the players and telling you what to do a lot of times. Although again, that changes so much from organization to organization. But the way that I see it, I want to be the head coach, and I think that the head coach, in many cases, is more the general manager than it is the manager.